Let's bring in a political analyst then, Dr Metji Makgoba, to weigh in on the ANC Free State conference that is indeed underway in Bloemfontein. We've just heard, of course, the announcement of the new leadership and, of course, seeing that Mxolisi Dukwana taking over the chairmanship position from Sisi Ntombela, who was indeed being spoken to at this time by Mxolisi as the outgoing chairperson of the ANC Free State. All right, a very good afternoon to you and thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
You're most welcome. Let's start with your reaction then and what you make of this new leadership. Of course, we're seeing Sisi Ntombela losing the chairmanship to Mxolisi Dukwana. What's your take on this? She says it's, she's fine about it and that, she will be supporting and helping to support Mxolisi Dukwana. Do you think that's the case?
Well, I don't think so because this conference was very contested, partly because in 2018, when the PEC was dissolved, they weren't happy with the decision. Yeah. So, which means there were problems of factions, and these factions found expression in this conference. So she is a bitter loser, but because she wants to project a favorable image of the ANC, she would say, well, I'm quite happy with the outcomes, but we know that before the conference and the decision that was taken in 2018, it was not accepted by Makgashule's faction, and they saw this conference as actually the final way which they could hold on to power. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for them, but because some of them would still want to be in government, they would want to say something good about the ANC so that whoever is taking over does not overlook them for positions in the province.
Yeah. There's been a lot of criticism of the ANC about, the fact that there aren't too many female leaders, represented, in the top 5, 6 of the different provinces. And to see a woman being ousted and a man coming in, does that paint a story of what exactly is going on within the ANC, or is there not much to read into it?
Well, the ANC is a patriarchal organization, and there is no effort to promote women in the ANC. Those which find themselves in higher positions have to work against the odd created by the structure of patriarchy, which means that there is any intention on the part of the organization to transform to make this organization favorable to women. So if there were kind of an existing program of action to promote women in the ANC, they would have made sure that at least in all the province, representation is there. But you remember that representation has to take place at branch level. If the branches themselves don't have some kind of feminist orientation towards politics, the PIC and the National Conference will largely reproduce what's happening at branch levels. So that is merely because the ANC is a patriarchal organization that depends on male domination. And until they re-look at how women are represented in different structures of the ANC, that is still going to continue because there seems to be no effort at all to promote women.
Yeah. And what are the key areas that this leadership will have to deal with in the province, both in the party and within the party and governance? I mean, we heard yesterday Dr Metji saying that there is a leadership problem in the Free State, and it seemed to be a swipe at some particular faction within the Free State. Did you read it that way?
Well, he was basically complaining about the Ace Makgashule faction, which according to them has collapsed the province. But that's too simple because South Africa does not have especially in the Free States, they don't have the issue of Ace Makgashule. They have the issue of a corrupt ANC. So it would be too simple to when we follow Mantashe's logic, to believe that the leadership that is coming now is going to lead some kind of transformation. We have a leadership crisis in this country, which is created by the ANC. So that is likely to be even worse because now they have a big responsibility of rebuilding the ANC and the province because under Ace Makgashule, the province was quite worse. And now this leadership, which is also tainted on its own, has that responsibility to prove to South Africans that, look, we are coming with a different vision for the province and for the ANC in that area. But as we've seen with what has been happening with the ANC, that is very unlikely to happen. But let's watch it and wait and see.
Yeah, you said that there isn't a problem of Ace Magashule within the Free State. Are you insinuating that, Ace Magashule is no longer a factor in the province, that, he really was a sort of big deal, if I can put it that way, in the Free State? Do you think that that's over?
I think since they've managed to kind of, the Tumaminak Brigade in this conference has managed to regroup, they should have the capacity to neutralize him even further. Now the onus is on them to ensure that Free State delivers service to the people. He will also continue to cause problems, factional problems in the province, but since now they will have state power to deal with him, I don't think that South Africans should accept any excuses from the ANC saying that we are unable to do certain things because the Ace Magashule faction is still trying to dominate the province. Now they have the power and they have to use that power to transform the province. And secondly, when I say we have the problem, we don't have the problem of Ace Magashule, I'm trying to suggest that South Africa has a problem of the ANC. Since 1994, the ANC has struggled to build strong institutions of driving government programs. And on top of that, they have issues of corruption in which a figure such as Magashule was accused of. So we have two main issues. We have issues of lack of state capacity